Hey listen, have I got a story for you? Imagine this, it's London year 2000, the whole world's pretending the new millennium is going to make everyone richer, wiser and more peaceful. Meanwhile, there's a crew of proper old school criminals just sitting around a table like it's the back room of The Godfather. They've got maps plastered on the walls, timing down to the second, tie charts like they're planning a naval invasion, and getaway plans that look straight out of a James Bond movie. Not backyard nonsense. This is movie level stuff. They're not chasing cash. They're not chasing gold. They're chasing something so big, so shiny, so legendary that it's meant to be untouchable. You think this is Ocean's 11, but with thicker accents and worse coffee. And just when you think, alright, this is perfect, somehow it turns into one of the greatest embarrassments in British crime history. This is the story of the Millennium Dome diamond heist. Now picture London properly, the year 2000, fireworks in the sky, false optimism in the air, and half the city acting like a new calendar meant they were suddenly going to become better, richer and more enlightened human beings. And sitting there on the Thames at Greenwich is the Millennium Dome. This massive, futuristic silver tent that looks like a UFO just landed, got confused and decided to squat rent-free in South London. Inside, it's pure millennium chaos. Family, schools, excursions, wide-eyed tourists, kids running around like they just mainline pure sugar, and gift shops charging you a small fortune for a key ring you'll throw away in a week. And right in the middle of all that, behind thick glass, the beers is showing off diamonds so perfect they almost don't look real. Centerpiece is the Millennium Star, a flawless pear-shaped diamond so clean it looked like it was manufactured in heaven and polished by Rocco himself. The kind of rock that makes every gangster movie villain lean back in his leather chair, swirl a glass of whiskey and quietly whisper, "That's my retirement plan." But while tourists are snapping photos like it's Instagram before Instagram even existed, there's a very different kind of family looking in from the outside. Not a family of blood, a family of crime. And at the head of it all is Lee Wenham, the organiser, the chess master, the bloke who doesn't just dream about the score. He builds it in his head like Scorsese, storyboarding a masterpiece, calm, calculated. If this were a movie, he'd be the guy stroking his chin in slow motion while everyone else is losing their mind. Then you've got Raymond Betson, the serious one, the ice-cold stare, no small talk, no nonsense. The kind of man who says two words and the whole room goes quiet, like the Don just walked in. Proper old-school criminal energy, no gimmick, no showboating, just pure steel. Then you got William Cockram. He's the muscle, big presence, quiet, menace, the type who doesn't need to threaten you because his face already has. He's the bloke leaning against the wall in every gangster movie, arms folded, eyes clocking everything. Robert Adams, older and battle-hardened, ends up being nicknamed Bob the Builder in some tellings. Because when something needs breaking, drilling, cutting or smashing, he's your man. Not glamorous, but absolutely vital. Every crew needs a guy like that. Otherwise, you're just a bunch of blokes standing in front of a locked door, wondering what to do. Aldo Chiarocci, he's the technical brain, hands-on, practical, the man who turns Wenham's wild ideas into something that actually works in the real world. Radios, timing devices, logistics. He's the one making sure this doesn't fall apart halfway through. And then there's Terry Millman and Kevin Meredith, tied to the getaway, specifically the boat, because this wasn't meant to be some quick car dash. In their minds, this was pure cinema. Smash the dome, grab the diamonds, and vanish down the Thames like Bond villains in a speedboat, with dramatic music blaring behind them. Now, shift the scene. We're back at their hideout. a grimy, nondescript warehouse somewhere in South London. Not flashy, not glamorous, just a raw concrete shell, thick with tension, cigarette smoke and pure ambition. It's half corporate boardroom, half back room from a mob movie. Maps of the dome are plastered across the walls like a military war room. Photos of entrances, exits, barriers, security posts, and camera angles are pinned everywhere you look. Tie charts are spread across the table like they're planning D-Day, not a robbery. Wenham slowly circles the room, tapping his fingers on the blueprint, like a conductor leading an orchestra. Betson sits back in a battered metal chair, arms folded, eyes scanning every detail without saying a word. Cochrane leans against the wall, watching everyone with a quiet suspicion, like he's already expecting someone to make a mistake. In the corner, Adams is at a workbench testing drills, cutters, heavy tools, sparks occasionally flying and lighting up his face like a scene straight out of the Italian Job. Giorocci fiddling with radios and timing equipment, checking signals, muttering technical jargon that sounds impressive, even if half the room doesn't fully get it. Off to the side, Millman and Meredith arguing quietly about the boat engine, river currents, and how to avoid police patrol on the water. Every now and then Wenham stops and mutters, "No, too risky." Betson barely nods. Cochrane cracks his knuckles. Adam grunts in agreement. This is a crew thinking, breathing, and moving as one. Then they head back to the dome, slipping in like ordinary tourists, pretending to admire exhibits while quietly studying every movement around them. They watch guards, track shift changes, count cameras, and time how long it takes security to react to the smallest disturbance. Back at the hideout, the arguments flare up again. Voices rise, tension spikes. Someone suggests a quicker escape route. Benson kills the idea instantly with a single, cold look. Wenham steps in and smooths things over like a don, keeping his soldiers in line. And always those tide charts come back. High tides, low tides, when the river is calmest, when patrol boats are least active. They're not planning a robbery anymore, they're planning a military operation. Weeks tick by. The plan keeps getting sharper like a blade being honed again and again. Every angle is studied, every risk is weighed up, every possible scenario argued over until there's nothing left to debate. Finally, the 7th of November 2000 arrives. This is it. No more talk, no more dry runs, no more second guessing. Today, they will either walk out as legends or idiots. The dome is open. Families drift around like it's just another day out. Kids lick ice cream that somehow costs more than rent. Tourists buy tacky souvenirs that proudly declare, "I survived the Millennium Dome." Then, without warning, bada boom! A heavy machine smashes through the barriers like it owns the place. Metal buckles, alarms howl. People scatter and scream. This isn't subtle. This isn't elegant. This is full Scarface energy. Loud, messy, and unapologetic. The crew surges towards the De Beers exhibition like a runaway train. Glass explodes, security scrambles. The air is pure adrenaline. In their heads, this is a Guy Ritchie montage. Quick cuts, pounding bass, lads shouting, "Go, go, go!" Betson moves with cold surgical precision, snatching at what's in front of him. Cochrane bulldozes through the crowd, clearing space with sheer presence. Adam tears into the protected glass like he's knocking down a wall in a rage. Giorocci barks orders into the radio, keeping everything moving. Wenham drives the operation like a general in the middle of a battlefield. Outside, Millman and Meredith sit in the boat, engine idling, knuckles wide on the wheel, waiting for the call that the diamonds are in hand. In their mind, this is the movie ending, a high-speed escape down the Thames, front-page headlines, and a lifetime of bragging rights. And for a few electric seconds, it really looks like they might have pulled it off. The diamonds are right there. And this plan is unfolding exactly the way they rehearsed it, right? Wrong! The room detonates with police, flying squad officers flooding from every direction like a perfectly drilled operation. Tactical gear, weapons drawn, total control. In seconds, the fantasy collapsed. Betson is taken down hard. Cockram is driven to the floor. Adams is restrained mid-swing. Giorocci is grabbed before he even understands what's going on. The cinematic speedboat escape vanishes in an instant. The tide charts, the river plans, the Bond villain getaway, all of it suddenly meaningless. And now we rewind. Because while all of the chaos was unfolding inside the dome, the police had been watching long before the first barrier ever bent. They had tracked a cruise repeater visit to Greenwich. They clocked their strange obsession with the tides. And piece by piece they connected Wenham, Betson, Cockram, Adams, Giorocci, Millman and Meredith to establish criminal networks. Instead of shutting it down early, the flying squad played it cool, slow, calculated, patient. They let the gang get comfortable. They let them feel untouchable. They let them believe everything was going to go exactly to plan. Quietly and out of sight, they removed the real De Beers diamonds from the exhibition and replaced them with crystal replicas. The glittering display the gang was risking everything for was, in reality, a beautiful stage decoy, stunning to look at and completely worthless to steal. On top of that, the undercover officers were already inside the dome, blended in with the staff, security and even visitors, positioned close enough to move instantly the second the gang made their move. So even if, in some alternate universe, the crew had actually grabbed the stones and made it to the boat, they would have opened up their bag and realised they'd just stolen the world's most expensive costume jewellery. Picture it, they're out on the Thames, champagne in hand, hearts still racing, high-fiving like they've just won the World Cup. And then Betson lifts the Millennium Star and mutters, "Why does this feel like something you win at a carnival?" That's not failure, that's pure humiliation. Back in reality, the arrests are swift. Courtrooms follow, lawyers argue, judges shake their heads. Betson and Cockram are hit with heavy sentences, originally around 18 years each, later reduced on appeal. Adams and Giorocci receive lengthy terms as well. Meredith gets a shorter sentence on a related charge. And Terry Millman tragically dies before he even stands trial, taking his side of the story to the grave. In the end, this crew wasn't beaten by bad planning. They weren't outsmarted by stronger criminals. They were outdone by patience, surveillance, and a display case full of fake diamonds. They planned this like a blockbuster. They timed the tides, mapped every route, rehearsed every move like it was choreographed. And the police simply went, "Beautiful plan, boys. Shame about the diamonds." In the end, this crew didn't lose because they were sloppy. They didn't lose because they were amateurs. They lost because the police were more patient, more methodical, and a hell of a lot smarter than they ever expected. This wasn't just a botch job. This was a masterclass in how to rob yourself. Honestly, this went so badly that even Jordan Belford, the real Wolf of Wall Street, sitting there in his pinstripes with a cigar in his hand, would have looked at this and went, "Oh, mucky cats."